One of the things that I've been doing lately is I play with the actor Gary Sinise, who was in Forrest Gump. Remember the guy who lost his legs? And he's in CSI New York. And he's also a bass player, and he has a band, and we play a lot for the troops. So we're actually playing this Friday and Saturday night here on the island. And Jeff, who was originally from Honolulu, tries to find things for us to do because we're old friends and a chance to play. So this is the beginning of about 4 little concerts and events here before I play with Gary on the weekend. So that's what we're doing here. But anyway, thanks for coming out, and thanks to the store for sponsoring us today. The clinic, as it says up there, is sponsored by Zildjian and Remo, who have been, when drummers get known for playing with groups, usually the companies like them to play their instruments, and it's up to the drummer to choose the instruments that they like. And I've been associated with Remo and Zildjian for quite a while, and they are sponsoring the clinic, and we are giving away a cymbal, which is actually the best thing about the workshop. So hang on, and we will give away the cymbal. A little bit about me for those of you who might not be that familiar with what I've done. I've been a professional drummer for 35 years, something like that. I'm originally from New Jersey, and I went to college at the University of Miami in the early 70s, and there I met a guitar player who was also a student named Pat Metheny, who went on to become very, very well known in the jazz world, and I was a member of his group for the first 6 years of that band. And then I was a New York-based studio and jazz musician until the mid-90s when I met my wife, who's a percussionist, and she was living in Orlando, and I ended up relocating to Florida. And then subsequently, a few years ago, started teaching at a university, and now I'm a professor at the University of North Florida in Jacksonville, as well as a touring musician. And my wife got a position teaching percussion at the University of Alabama, so now I live in 2 places, in Jacksonville and in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, which is where I flew from yesterday. So I'm also involved in a lot of education. So I'm a touring musician, played mostly jazz, but a lot of different types of music. With Gary Sinise, it's a cover band, so I have to play a lot of different styles. For those of you who are, how many drummers are here? Okay, pretty much everybody. I have a couple of very well-known drum teachers that I studied with when I was a kid, and I still kind of study with off and on. One of them is Joe Morello. Everybody know who Joe Morello is? He played with Dave Brubeck, and he also studied with the person who wrote the book Stick Control. I don't know if you're familiar with that drum book, but that's one of the top drum books in the history of the instrument. And there is a particular technique that I use that's based in that. And it's really based in natural movement. That's the technique, where you try to, when you play the drums, you try not to have any tension in the body. It's a relaxing way to play. And for those of you who are just to have an idea, sometimes when you ask someone, how do you hold a drumstick, some people just say, I just grab it and I play, or I do what feels good. With this particular technique that I studied since I'm a kid, basically the idea is to examine how the arm and the wrist moves with no stick. And what he has you do, Joe Morello, in the beginning, is to basically just hold your arms out like this and wave your hands. So everybody just do this and keep your arms at your side and wave your hand. And do you feel any kind of tension in the body when you do this? No, right? It's just a very easy motion. So the idea of this system, when you hold a drumstick, is basically to take the hand the way it goes with no stick and just place the stick in, not changing anything. You hold it at the crease of the first finger, thumb goes around the side, fingers go on the bottom, you leave a space, and you just let the wrist move. So it's a waving motion, and that's the idea when you play, that there should be no tension whatsoever in the hand. Same thing for the match grip with the left hand. Very easy, relaxed motion. But there's a little more to it than that, which is, when most people play, most people start low and they go up, down, or they go, one goes down, one goes up. And when I first started, I think I just went low and went up, down, like that to make a stroke. And a lot of the drum corps people do that. With this system, though, Joe Morello, through Mr. Stone, explained that when you raise the stick up, you're making 2 motions, up, down. And he said, why are you going up, down? When you go up, just the up, you get tension in the arm. Everybody try. If you hold your hand down like this, go up. You feel it. He said, why do you do that? And I said, I don't know. I just do it. He said, well, let's look at something else. Let's imagine that you're working with different dynamics with drums, And if you pick a position, a different distance from the drum, and just throw the stick down and allow it to bounce back, what happens? Instead of going up, down, you're just going down. And you're letting the stick bounce back to the starting position. So therefore, there's no tension associated with it whatsoever. It's just down. And the bounce of the stick, of the rebound, is coming right back. So all of a sudden, instead of going up, down, you're just going down, 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 down. And it becomes a lot easier. I don't have to think about up, down. Plus, I just doubled my speed. Instead of going up, down, I just went that. So by the time you go up, I'm already back. So it's a very efficient way. And this is Mr. Stone to Joe Morello to me. And it is documented in a couple of videos. It's called Joe Morello Natural Drumming, and that's what it is. So then you basically are faced with the idea that you can change the sound of the dynamic by starting at a different position from the drum. If you start low, you get a soft sound. If you raise it a little higher, a little louder. Start higher, a little louder. Start here, very loud. So I can control the sound of the stick just by raising the position where I start the stick, to start the stroke. If I want to play soft, I play there. I want to play loud, I go there. Anywhere in between, but you notice my whole body is very, very relaxed, so I have no tension when I do that. So that's the basis of this particular system. A lot of different ways to play. You don't have to do this. I have students, some think this is, like me, think this is the greatest. Others, they don't relate to it that much, but it's just a way to do it. So there's four basic strokes. He divides this thing into wrist, arms, and fingers. The 4 strokes are basically wrist strokes. The loudest wrist stroke is straight up and down. They call this a full stroke. And this is in many books. A lot of people, especially the drum corps guys and girls, do this. Start straight up and down, let the stick rebound back. And for some people it's easy, for some people, like me, it's hard. It took me a couple of months just to do that. It seems kind of crazy. But if you're used to that, this becomes a very awkward motion. But you look at the position, throw the stick down, try to let it rebound back to the starting position like that. So you've got what's called a full stroke, straight up and down, ceiling position. So here's your loud stroke. It sounds pretty even because the sticks are about the same pitch. So if you start at the same spot, throw the stick down, you get an even sound. This is called full stroke, and you can use the George Lawrence Stone stick control book. The first 3 pages has 72 exercises, and you can practice that. And you get it to the point where both hands have control. You work on each hand by itself. If you want to play a good single stroke roll, the first rudiment, how many people do you know go like that? To make it even, you practice each hand by itself. Is Dean here? Yeah. Dean, where are you? Come on up. Okay, I'll finish this up while Dean gets set. So here, I'm playing with each hand. Now, I've worked on this for quite a while, and I play a lot of traditional grip. And the traditional grip, if you play this way, basically you're just doing the same thing. Natural body movement, put this in, first finger goes over the top of the stick. What I don't do is squeeze here. I keep the first finger over the top. And I've worked on these strokes for quite a while, so I can play pretty quickly with one hand and do something called breaking tension, but it allows for a well-controlled single stroke roll. I'll just continue with this right over here. So that was the first stroke, full stroke. Second stroke is half the distance to the drum, called a half stroke. Then the third stroke, instead of letting the stick come back, there's something called a downstroke. You throw it down and you stop it low. So it allows the stick to go from a loud sound to a soft sound. Here's a loud sound, full, 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 down. Now it's a soft stroke. So that allows me, if I'm here, am I in your way?
No. Go ahead.
Okay. So I can go loud, 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 down, down, now I'm soft. So I can go and control, see how easy it is to control my volume. So if I'm playing a beat on the cymbal and I want to play louder, I just raise the stick higher. It allows me to have really defined dynamic control. If I have to go from soft to loud, then it's stroke number 4, soft, 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 up, up. I bring the stick back up to the starting position. So I can go soft, up, up, loud, loud. As soon as you raise one stick higher, you get a louder sound. When you're working on singles into doubles, same thing, all coming from the same level. Paradiddle, all the strokes even. When I want to play an accent, I raise the stick higher. So paradiddle, instead of like the way everybody normally plays, you'd go down, up, tap, tap. Left hand, it's like a tennis stroke where you're back ready to be in position. Down, up, down, up. Anyway, that's a 5-minute version of about a year's worth of stuff. But that's the basis of the technique which I will be playing with today. But it's basically, the principles are, shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, the law of cause and effect. You throw it down, it comes back. You don't raise the stick up. It's like bouncing a ball. And what happens here, I'm just riding on the stick. I'm just getting my wrist to get used to making that. I can do it without a stick. Because what I'm doing is I'm training my wrists to move by using a pad. Some people like to practice on a dead surface, like a pillow or something like that on your leg, or pads that don't have a lot of bounce. For this system, I find that the more rebound you have, the better it is for training the reflexes. Because when I get away from the drum, I can still do it on a dead surface. But what's happening is my wrists have gotten used to making that motion very quickly. So I can control it. I use 4 books for technique, and that will last me for the rest of my life. Stick Control, Accents and Rebounds by George Lawrence Stone, Joe Morello's Master Studies 1 and Master Studies 2. Those are 30 years of work in those books with this particular system. Anybody have any questions about this? Does it seem interesting? Does it make sense? You know, add it to what you already do. You don't have to worry about the way you already play. But just if you look at your hand, the one thing I notice, anybody that seems to have pain and tension squeezes the stick. You can play that way, but it's much more efficient if you don't. Some drummers put their elbows out like this. I find it's much easier to be more relaxed. A few other things. There's one more stroke you may have heard. Drummers around the world talk about the Moller Stroke from this guy who used to teach in New York, Sanford Moller. It's the kind of the opposite of this. It's a whipping motion where you start low and whip the stick around and let it rebound. Traditional grip, this is the way to do it. Match grip, that's the way to do it. It's a whipping, this is, as I have been told by Joe Morello, it's a whip motion where the elbow hits a little bit early, like a flam. And what happens is when you're playing single strokes, you can play accents with this whip motion. So you can go whip, whip, whip. I'm just going singles, singles, whip, whip, like that. So it makes it very easy if you have to play, something like that. Or it's all whip, 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 whip. Just a whipping motion. What you can't do with this, though, is you can't play repeated accents. You can't go like that. This is only good for one. You could do 2, like that, or 3, or 4, or 5, or 6, or 7, but you can't do singles. So I used both different, this is a lot of information, but I'm just giving you the basic idea. So there's the 2 strokes I use are the Stone method and the Moller Stroke. And that's pretty much all the technique I use for the wrist. When I need to play louder than this, I raise the sticks higher. This is again from Joe Morello, and I use my upper arm. On a drum, that can be very, very loud, but I'm not squeezing the stick, I'm playing from here. So if I have to play rock and roll really loud, it's all coming from here, and there's no tension in the wrist. Or very, very soft. Another technique is to go down low and use the fingers, which is a much more subtle way to play. Anyway, that's the basis of the drum technique. If you have any questions anytime during the clinic, feel free to ask about it. That's a little 10-minute overview. And now we're going to play some music. All right.